Craig. Welcome, everybody. It is Awake in the North book club. It is September 9th or 8th today, 8:33. We are reading Lokasenna tonight, and we have a bunch of readers, and we're just going to jump on into it. Does anybody want to read the introduction for us? If so, just go ahead and start. If not, I will. So Lokasenna Aegir, also called Gymir, prepared ale for the gods after he had acquired... Oh, I'm not at the right spot, am I? Rewind. Lokasenna, Loki's taunts. In Lokasenna, a clear picture of the trickster figure Loki appears. Having been cast out of a feast of the gods for killing a servant, Loki returns to the feast and offers insults to each of the gods and goddesses in turn. He is tolerated because Odin has made an oath never to drink without Loki present. Loki's insults are sometimes phrased in surprisingly explicit scatological terms. And in his insults towards the goddesses are invariably of a sexual nature, as are the insults that he and Odin trade with one another. Note that many stanzas, especially Loki's, begins with "you know," an Old North Vesitu. This is a fairly common opening to a stanza elsewhere in the Eddas as well. But here it may also be intended ironically, since much of what Loki reveals of the gods' indecency was probably concealed from the other gods prior to this disclosure. Finally, after Loki has slandered everyone's present, Thor appears and threatens Loki into leaving. And we learn at last how Loki was punished for insulting the gods and being chained beneath a poisonous snake. Dripping venom on his face. The prose sections are original to the manuscript. Somebody else want to jump in?
Sure, I'll cover you.
Thank you.
Aegir, also called Gymir, prepared ale for the gods after he had acquired the great kettle, which has been told of. Odin came to the feasting with Frigg, his wife. Thor did not come, since he was out east, but Thor's wife Sif was there. Bragi came with his wife Ithun. Tyr was there as well. He was one-handed, because Fenrir had bitten his hand off when he was chained. Njorth was there with his wife Skathi, and his children Frey and Freya. Vithar, son of Odin, was there. Loki was there, and so were Frey's servants, Bigvir and Bela. There were many other gods and elves as well. Aegir had two servants, Fimafang and Eldir. Shining gold lit the hall, and the beer served itself. It was a great place of peace, and everyone praised how good Aegir's servants were. Loki could not tolerate hearing good things said about servants, and so he killed Fimafang. Then the Aesir shook their shields at Loki and shouted at him, and drove him out into the forest, and went back to drinking. Loki came back, and in the darkness outside he met Eldir.
Tell me, Eldir, before you take another step forward, what are the gods sitting in there talking about over their beer?
They're comparing their weapons, and judging their readiness for war. Of the elves and gods sitting inside, not one is your friend.
I will go into Aegir's hall and see this feast. I will bring them slanders and rumors, and mix their mead with misery.
You know that if you go into Aegir's hall to visit this feast, bringing slander and rumors to spill out on the floor, they will wipe those words right off on you.
You know, Eldir, if you and I were to compete at exchanging insults, it would be lucky for me if you said too much. Then Loki went into the hall. And when the feasters saw who had come in, they went silent. I come thirsty into this hall, I, Loki, after a long road, to ask the gods to offer me just one drink of their famous mead. Why are you so silent, you proud gods? Why do you say nothing? You ought to show me to my seat at such a feast, or else order me to leave.
The gods will never show you to a seat at this feast. The gods know what company they want to share a happy evening's drinking with.
Do you remember, Odin, when in bygone days we blended our blood? You told me then that you would never taste a drink that was not served to us both.
Get up, Vithar. Let this father of wolves take a seat and have a drink. Let's not let Loki slander us here in Aegir's Hall.
Then Vithar stood up. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, after you.
Then Vithar stood up and served Loki a drink. Before he drank, Loki said, "Hail, gods and goddesses, all the high and holy Aesir, except for that one god who sits furthest down the bench, that one there, Bragi.
I will give you a horse and a sword. I offer you these freely and a ring, but in exchange, please don't slander the gods. Don't awake their anger."
Since when have you had a treasure or a horse to give? Of all the gods and elves inside this hall, you're the biggest coward.
If we were outside and you had not come inside Aegir's Hall, I would be holding your severed head. I'd pay you back that way for all your lies.
You're brave while you're sitting, but you wouldn't do that, Bragi, you bench warmer. Go ahead and strike me if you're so angry. A brave man wouldn't be afraid to do it.
I beg you, Bragi, think of your children by blood and by adoption, and don't slander even Loki here in Aegir's Hall.
Silence, Idun. I don't think there's any woman more lustful than you. Not since you wrapped your pretty arms around the killer of your brother.
I will not slander even Loki here in Aegir's Hall. I will calm you, beer-madden Bragi. I don't want you two to fight.
Why should two gods exchange insulting words here inside this hall? I think Loki is a cheerful fellow. Everybody loves him.
Silence, Gepion. I remember that boy who seduced you into his bed. That handsome boy gave you a necklace, and you opened your thighs for him.
You're mad, Loki. Out of your wits. If you want to make Gepion angry, I think she foresees the fates of all living things as well as I do.
Silence, Odin. You always judge battles unfairly for humans. You have often given defeat to the better side when you shouldn't have.
You know, even if I did judge unfairly and made the better side lose, I know that you, for 8 years, lived on the earth down below as a cow in milk, and as a woman, and you've given birth to children. I call that a pervert's way of living.
But people say you practiced womanly magic on Samsi, dressed as a woman. You lived as a witch among the human. And I call that a pervert's way of living. But people say that you... Oh, wait. Oh, yeah. Okay, sorry.
You should not discuss your histories openly in front of everyone. Whatever you two gods went about doing in your younger days, that belongs in the past and should stay there.
Silence, Frigg. You're Fjorgen's girl, and you've always been lustful. Think of when you, Odin's wife, accepted both Vili and Ve into your embrace.
You know, if I had a son like Balder sitting here with me in Aegir's Hall, in the presence of these gods, I declare you would never come out alive. You would be killed shortly.
You must want me to recount even more of my mischief, Frigg. After all, I'm the one who made it so that Balder will never ride home again.
You are mad, Loki. When you boast of your sins, I believe that Frigg knows everyone's fate, even if she never speaks of it.
Silence, Freya. You are not free from faults. I know you too well. You've played the whore for every god and every elf who sits in this hall.
You speak lies, and soon this kind of talk will cause you real trouble. The gods are angry at you, and all the goddesses too. you will go home friendless.
Silence, Freya. You are a witch and have dealt out many curses. I hear the gods found you lying with your brother, and that you farted then, Freya.
It's a small matter whether women sleep with their own men or others. But it's a surprise to hear such a sissy god talking here when he's born children.
Silence, Njord. You were sent from the west as a hostage for the gods. The daughters of Hymir used your mouth as a urinal, and you've tasted plenty of piss.
I had some good from that. When I was sent from the west as a hostage for the gods, I fathered a son beloved by all, considered a hero among gods.
Stop this now, Njord. Control yourself. I will not conceal this any longer. I know that you fathered that son, Frey, with your own sister, and I expect you've done even worse.
Frey is the best of all the gods in the holy halls of Asgard. He doesn't make girls weep, nor cause trouble for women. He frees captives from their chains.
Silence, Tyr. You don't know how to settle disputes between men. I'm thinking of your right hand, which Fenrir, my son, bit off.
I lost that hand. You lost that son. We both suffered loss. Your son isn't doing well either. He remains forever in chains waiting for Ragnarok.
Silence, Tyr. Or don't you know your own wife had a son by me? You poor fool. I'll never pay you a penny in compensation for that.
I see that wolf sitting and drooling till Ragnarok comes, and you'll be the next one chained up, you evildoer, if you don't close your mouth.
You had to pay money to get yourself a bride, and you gave up your famous sword. When the giants ride to Asgard, you won't be able to fight.
If I had a noble family in a grand hall like Frey does, I'd beat this lair down to his marrow, break every bone and limb in him.
Who's this little fellow wagging his tail, scavenging for master's scraps? You're always in your master's ear, always twittering away while you do your mindless work.
I am named Bragvir, and all the gods and men say I'm brave. I am proud to say that all the gods are enjoying their beer here.
Silence, Big Veer. You don't even know how to serve food to guests. And worse than that, I know we can find you hiding in the straw when battles start.
You're drunk, Loki, drunk to the point of foolishness. Why don't you control yourself? This kind of drunkenness makes every man say more than he means to.
Silence, Heimdall. In the old days, a miserable fate was assigned to you. You have to stand all the time, stay watchful all the time as guardian of the gods.
This is fun for you, Loki, but you won't be speaking as a free man much longer. The gods will bind you to the rock with the cold guts of your own son.
You know, even if the gods were going to bind me to the rock with the cold guts of my own son, I was still first and last on the battlefield when we fought your father, Thiassi.
You know, even if you were first and last on the battlefield when the gods fought against Thiassi, you will never be welcome in any home or other place where I have power.
You had kinder words for me when you were begging me to join you in your bed. But one expects as much when one speaks openly about such hidden shames.
Then Sif came forward and offered Loki a drink of mead and said, "Do we have Sif?" "Hail to you now, Loki. Take this drink I offer you of our good old mead. Do this rather than find fault with me, alone among all the gods and goddesses."
Loki drained the drink and said, "You would be unique, Sif, if you actually were wary and unwelcoming to other men. But I alone know how you were unfaithful to your husband Thor, and I was the one that you slept with."
"Listen, all the mountains are shaking. I think Thor's coming home. He'll close this mouth that's slandering all the gods and men."
Silence, Bela. You're Big Veer's wife, and you have plenty of other faults. There's no greater beast among the gods here tonight, you lowly milkmaid. Is Doc here?
He did not make it. You're right. Yep, just looked at that as well. Anybody want to grab Thor?
I'll grab it for you. Silence, you sissy, or I'll let my hammer silence you instead. I'll knock your head off your shoulders, and then you'll be silent. And dead.
Ooh, Thor has come to the hall. But why are you making such a big show of yourself, Thor? I don't think you'll look half so daring at Ragnarok when the wolf swallows your father.
Silence, you sissy, or I'll let my hammer silence you instead. I'll throw you out of here into Jotunheim, and no one will ever see you again.
You'll probably never tell any human beings what you've done in Jotunheim. I remember when you sat trembling in a giant's glove. You didn't look much like Thor then.
Silence, you sissy, or I'll let my hammer silence you instead. With my right hand, I'll beat you, break every bone in you.
I expect I'll live a long time still, even if you threaten me with that hammer. You thought Utgarda Loki's food bag was challenge enough, and you left that contest still hungry.
Silence, you sissy, or I'll let my hammer silence you instead. I plan to send you straight to hell, beyond the corpse gates.
I've spoken to the gods, and the gods' sons. I've said everything I dared to say, but it's because of you, Thor, that I'll leave. I know you, and you alone, mean your threats. You made beer here, but you'll never again host a feast here. Everything you own will burn up, and you will feel flames on your back.
And that is the Lokasenna.
There's one more on the next page.
Is there? Oh, did I miss it?
Just an outro.
Concerning Loki. Is that what we're talking about there?
Mm-hmm.
After this, Loki hid in the falls of Fenrir in the shape of a salmon, but the gods caught him. He was tied up with the intestines of his son Nari, and his son Narvi was turned into a wolf. Narvi, thank you. Was turned into a wolf. Skathi took a poisonous snake and tied it up over Loki. Poison dripped on his face from its mouth. Loki's wife, Sigyn, sat there and caught the poison in a jar. But when the jar filled, she had to empty it. And when she did, poison dripped on Loki's face. And this hurt him so badly that he trembled, and all the world with him. This is what is called an earthquake.
The end.
The end now. That time, the end. For reals. Lokasenna is a fun one. You did a good job with the Loki too, by the way.
It's my favorite story. I love it.
So how's everybody feel about Lokasenna?
Definitely puts
Like
Loki in a
Loki.
light.
Yeah, it sounds like Loki could use a Snickers bar. He sounds a little angry.
Yeah, he sounds jealous, like for real jealousy, like jelly on a plate, like.
Yeah, angry is putting it mildly.
What? You guys, I have a totally different take. I feel like he is, this is just me, but I feel like he's looking at them all, and they're all sitting so high and mighty and fancy, talking about their weapons, talking about war, enjoying their fancy beer. This kettle that most of them weren't even involved in taking, and they're all just like, oh yeah, and he's not invited, right? For reasons, we get that. But like, I feel like he is there just to flippin' humble them. Like, I feel like he just wants to remind them of why they shouldn't be all high and mighty in their chairs.
Because nothing he said was untrue. Nothing that he said was a lie.
I
And
agree with that, absolutely. It was all truth.
I get it.
He stirs up drama for drama's sake.
It's almost like it's the one out friend that knows everybody's secrets. So now that they're
Yeah.
angry, everybody hears everybody's secrets.
Yeah.
Right. It's I'm pissed off, so now I am going to poo on everybody. Have fun.
Exactly. It's like, you want to tell me all of your stuff, but then you don't invite me to come eat with you, so now guess who gets to know everybody's stuff? Oh, everybody. Cool. My big question, though, that I don't know who might be able to answer is, so what did Nari and Narvi have to do with anything? Like, other than they killed Nari to tie Loki up, what did they have to do with anything? What did they do? Or was that just out of spite to Loki that they killed his kid? Other kid.
It's one of those, in my opinion, and this is more from like real world. What's the worst possible thing you can do to a parent? Take the
Right.
child. Any parent, well, I won't say any, but the majority of parents, if you said who's it going to be, you or your kid, parent's going to jump in front of that bus every time. They took Loki and said, okay, we're going to punish him. Well, what's the best way we can do it? Yeah, he might be in pain, but now not only is he in pain, he's also lost one of his children.
Yeah, we're going to use his children against him.
Again, is that what was intended in this piece? Who knows? That's me having 2 children and having issues with anger and knowing that knee-jerk, okay, I'm pissed off at somebody, I want to hurt them the worst way. Knowing what that initial flash through is, okay, what's the worst thing I could do to person X who's got me angry?
Right.
And then there's also a matter of, it wasn't any kind of special, or they didn't signify that it was any kind of specific snake. So what happens when the snake dies or needs food? Because if it's just a regular snake, it's gonna die eventually.
Oh, it's hungry. It's got a face right there, so you know.
True, this is true, but again,
Also, I wanted to point out that this is actually, the punishment isn't for mocking the gods. This is actually when Loki first revealed that he had been kind of the catalyst for the death of Balder. Right. So this was kind of like in response to that.
Yeah, I think his punishment for the insults was his lips being sewn shut, if I'm not mistaken, or was that something else?
That was
Stone Shut was the gifts to the gods.
right.
Ivaldi's sons, and then oh god, I always forget the other 2 names.
In the Gelfengening, the other story here is the original story of Loki being bound. This one here in the Lokasenna is simply a recap of that to finish off this story. It tells in the original how the gods originally turned the son Vali into a wolf, and then Vali killed Narfi, and then the Aesir took the entrails from Narfi and bound Loki with them.
Narek agrees about the Snickers bars, by the way, Kira. They're putting it in book club here. He said Loki needs a lot of Snickers bars. He shows us the truth that we wish to forget and ignore. And in Narek's eyes, Loki is the god of naked truth, whether you want to acknowledge that truth or not. He will acknowledge it for you.
Yeah.
Right? I don't disagree with that.
I don't want to agree with that, but I agree with that. I like the mention of the blood pact he has with Odin, and that it basically gains him access to anywhere Odin is. And I find it interesting because in my time as a heathen, I have come across a lot of people who will venerate the Aesir, but Loki is not included. And Loki is seen as evil, or Lokians are not allowed in their kindred or clan. I've been a lot of places. And I've always thought it very interesting simply due to this. Like, when you make an offering to Odin, are you also making an offering to Loki? Like, if you deny Loki's presence or Loki's importance and you venerate Odin, is that not disrespecting Odin? You know, I'm interested to see what you guys think about that.
Answer. I have an answer. Ooh, pick me.
Ooh, Gothi, let's go!
To make a reference to that other group that a lot of modern day heathens love to disparage. The Old Testament is full of rules and laws and thou shalt not. And then stuff happens, their Christ comes back, fulfills all that, and the Christians are no longer held to the rules that the Jews were. For instance, you can mix clothes now. You can eat shellfish. You can do all these different things. They no longer have to stone their parents and things like this. Things changed when the gods bound Loki for his treason, basically, and finally got tired of his shenanigans. That kind of nullified the previous pact that he and Odin had together and allows that separation between the two.
What you're saying, but does anything nullify a blood oath?
It does. There are things that will nullify a blood oath. According to the lore, there are things that will nullify it.
Would love more on that particular rabbit hole. Would love more information on that.
Betrayal is one of the main things that releases you from an oath.
I was going to say, I think we were talking about this in a group somewhere in chat not too long ago. I remember seeing a list.
Take your meds.
Right. Betrayal is a thing that will nullify an oath real quick. And the whole Eddas, both the poetic and the prose, are full of nothing but Loki breaking that oath with his actions.
But they consider this one the turning point?
This was the final straw. This was the last bit of doing. Balder, when he caused the death of Balder was the beloved of everybody. Everyone and everything loved Balder. And that was the big betrayal that no one could forgive.
Right.
If he hadn't killed Balder.
It was interesting to me that Frigg already knew, but she hadn't said anything. I wonder why that is.
Yeah.
Something in her pocket for later.
Well, either that or it could be some of the previous things we've seen. Their relationship does not seem to be on the best of terms, put it lightly.
Or maybe she took it as a, you know what, he was right, I forgot one. I didn't acknowledge mistletoe, and that's my fault. But that's just the way that I take why she didn't say anything. She took it as, I didn't acknowledge mistletoe, and that's my fault. You are right on that part.
Or maybe her love as a mother put her in a position to put too much hope into the hinges of potential.
Good point.
That is an interesting thought as well, yes.
I loved, and this is just me and part of my enjoyment of this story, but I love when Loki's trying to insult Njord, and Njord's just like, that was a great time. Yep.
Yeah, that was good. I like that. Check. Bucket list.
Yeah, Loki, sorry, you can't kink shame me. Try again.
Yeah, we're not gonna yuck Njord's yums.
I think the best thing about this whole story is, like, every time a god is like, dude, calm down, Loki's like, oh yeah, and that one time with you.
Right.
Yeah. You're gonna tell me to quiet down. Let me just shift the focus.
The transition is beautiful. I agree. Every
It's amazing.
single time.
Yeah, like, and another thing, over and over and over again.
I'm
So,
sorry, I'm
you
sorry.
guys-
After he does it the third time, it's, you know what? I'm just going to keep my mouth shut because I got some crap in my past I don't want everyone hearing about.
Well, I even like how Sid is just like, here, I'm just gonna give you a cup of beer. Don't talk about me. Don't say anything. Like she's just like, we're buds, right? And he's like, you thought so.
100%.
It's like,
Then
yeah,
they look at
Brian.
me, they're like, I'm not here. They can see me. Oh.
But that's the thing we were talking about that one time when I was like people say that Loki cut Sif's hair because he was in her room and they were lovers. And this was the piece that came from. This was the poem that came from.
Ah, a little bit more there, and she's all like, "Here, honey, here's something to drink.
Here.
Don't say nothing.
Don't say anything. Here's a nice cup of beer, nice and cold."
It's fancy pants."
Ah. When you give somebody who's already drunken on a rant more mead to make them stop talking, I feel like your plan has some holes in it. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yes.
At that point, you're just hoping you push them over the edge and they just.
Right?
You're like, hey, I think this is kind of sus. You're just like handing them more alcohol to placate them because you know they've got stuff on you. It's like,
Right.
what?
Like, here,
how
bud,
much
we're
are you
allies.
trying to hide?
Hey, Rachel, you made it in time for us chatting. Whoa, when did Matt show up?
Just
Ninja.
now.
Man,
It reminds. I'm gonna tell you what it kind of reminds me of, but not a lot, but a little. It reminds me of Sleeping Beauty, where Maleficent doesn't get invited to the party, and so she comes in and wrecks everyone's.
ooh, I like that. I like that
Belly
comparison.
too, man. She was like, "What's going on here? All fancy pantsy without me."
Yeah.
And stuff.
Which
Is
really
this a lesson to invite the shady people to the party so they don't just show up and wreck shop?
I mean,
Exactly.
when you look at it that way, it really begs the question: what kind of party was this? Because if you look at it from the context of how Sleeping Beauty was, yes, it was a baptism or something. I can't
Christening,
remember. It was a big deal. So nobody is forgotten. So if you are intentionally excluded, like, that's some beef. So what kind of party was going on that he was excluded from?
But Loki was excluded because he killed a servant because people were nice to the servants. Like,
Right, but it also
Not to
begs
be
the question:
invited.
like, what kind of party that he came back and said,
Yeah.
"No, I'm just gonna start some stuff because reasons."
What I'm learning from this is that when someone causes a scene at your party, you can just tie them up and hang a snake over their head, and we're all good.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Poisonous snake.
Technically, it's venomous, but yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say
Sigurd's
that.
a real one, though.
Technicalities, jeez.
If it bites you, and you
Sigurd
die,
is a freaking real one.
and you die, it's poison.
I love the fact that Loki had, like, she's so loyal to Loki. Well, and, like, also I'm sure that the grief of losing her child tied into that too, or losing her children, where she didn't want to lose anymore. She wanted to save whatever family she had left. But yeah, Sigurd's dope. Like, I love her.
She can sit there and stay by him and do that.
I always looked at that as, no, she's mad at what he did too, but that is her child that he is tied up with. She's not saving the poison from dripping onto Loki. She is saving the poison from dripping onto what's left of her son.
Yeah, that could be it too. I know that a lot of mothers who have suffered loss, parents who have suffered loss, venerate her for that reason.
Yeah. That if he was tied up with regular chains, then she could use.
Maybe.
She gets to hear us. I can't say other words because Craig's here.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
I did love how Nord was just like, people sleeping with other people's spouses. Like, that's not a big deal. Like, I love Nord so much.
How about sleeping with your own father? He completely defended it. Like,
Big deal.
It happens.
I think a lot of it,
Are we getting feedback from somewhere? Sorry, friends.
I was gonna say, I think a lot of the sexual-oriented insults that came from Loki were because they did when they first started insulting him back. They were talking about how he birthed children, how he was female in some things. He's like, "Oh, you want a kink shame? Cool, we can go there."
We can do it. Let's do it.
Reminds me of white chicks. Oh, you want to talk about it?
What else? What else did anybody notice? Anything? Any parts of the story that was like, remember that story? Or
Rachel, did you read this before, or did you get in part of the read with us?
Yeah, I read it before.
Do you have any feelings? You usually come with good stuff. Any feelings, thoughts?
Not this time.
I also kind of wonder if this was like, oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, what I find amusing is just the stark difference between pretty much all the other gods and Loki and Thor. Because everyone else is giving and taking a little bit, and Thor is just repeatedly saying, shut up or I'm going to hit you with a hammer. Shut up or I'm going to hit you with a hammer. Shut up or I'm going to hit you with a hammer. It's like, dude, come on, bring something else.
Hey, it was effective. It worked.
Yeah, eventually.
I was going to say, it was effective, it worked, but I was kind of feeling the same way. I was like, come on, Thor, bring a little bit more thunder, okay?
Threaten to, a choke slam, threaten to throw him through a wall. No, I'm going to hit you in the head with a hammer. Oh, you're still talking? I'm going to hit you in the head with a hammer.
To be fair, it is Thor who has been hit in the head with a hammer repeatedly, and isn't the brightest of the bunch to begin with.
So what I hear is that was the best comeback.
Pretty much.
The best comeback you could come back with.
It is interesting to me to look at these stories and see how, because Odin was made aware of Ragnarok, everybody's aware of Ragnarok and what the prophecy entailed, and yet they all keep kind of falling into the things that will bring that about. Like, I see this as Loki's last stand, and he knew it was his last stand too. Like, I feel like that. And because then he was bound, and we all know how that story ends. So it's kind of like, is it self-fulfilling prophecy, or was it all just going to play out this way anyway? It's hard to know. But I find that very interesting as to what is fated and what they believed would happen, so they played into it. Or would it have happened? I believe it would have happened. But
knowing your future is often what brings it to fruition.
Yep, I was going to say that one of my favorite things, and I have no idea where it came from, is you often meet your fate on the road you take to avoid it.
Hey, I love that.
I have no idea where I heard it, but...
It was a good one. You didn't lie. You promised me last week it was going to be a good read. I read it over the weekend, and then I read it again today, twice, because I read it by myself beforehand always. But that was a really fun read.
Yeah, my favorite things to read are flightings, and this was the flighting, right? If you go to the Sagas of the Icelanders, the skalds in those sagas are brilliant, and there's so many good examples of flighting, and it is an art form. It's incredible. I highly recommend, if you guys have not read the sagas yet, to please go do so. Not only because of that, they're incredible stories, and there's a lot of like tradition and ways of practice that are passed down that you'll more fully understand, like, hey, that's part of my practice, and now I understand why, like, because it was grabbed from this piece of the lore. But yeah, also incredible flighting stories.
That was the sagas of the Icelanders.
Well, yeah, any sagas really. The sagas of the Volsungs is really good, but the Icelanders has the best skaldic flightings
Right.
ever.
I wanted to know where I was looking for that one.
Gee, Kira. Excuse me. Gee, Kira, where could someone find sagas if they wanted to read them for free?
Oh, I believe, Beast, that we have those in the Awaken the North library.
Really? Would
Do
that
we?
be a section that says sagas?
I believe so, Beast. I believe they're available for anyone to view for free.
That would be amazing.
Excellent. So that would be the Grand Library on the ATN website at awakenthenorth.org for anybody listening in tonight with us.
Shameless plug.
Always, always, always.
But also a very good resource.
Right.
Check it out.
We have a lot of great resources. So if you're finding us on YouTube with our book club tonight, you found us on the main website, then you already know where the Grand Library is because we're there. On YouTube, come find us at awakenthenorth.org. Lots of resources, lots of friends to make, community to grow, and so many learning tools. I just can't even explain how many we have. I don't know if anybody else has any other questions, anything else before we say goodbye to all of our friends joining us on the YouTubes and the Awaken the North website tonight. If not, we're going to go ahead and sign off. Before I sign off, though, I am going to pull back up. It was just up. Where'd it go? So this was our group, what was it, 16, so not 17, Thyremskiveth is our next read. Oof, I butchered that bad, guys.
Hold on, let me see. Thrimskvita.
Thrimskiva. That's better. Thrimskiva. We'll be reading Thrimskiva next week, Thursday, 8:30 Central, or no, Eastern Standard Time. Oh, lords.
That's also one of my favorites.
By Craig.
That's the one about Thor dressing as a bride. It's wonderful.
It's great.
It's a fun Thor one. Ooh. Yay.
It's Olivia's favorite.
It's so good.
Awesome. I'm gonna go say goodbye to Craig.
Bye, Craig.
Bye, Craig.